Just when you thought Michael Bay couldn't throw anything more wacky at you, he throws wingsuited skydivers at you.
When people see it, I think there's going to be a natural tendency to believe that it's fake, and in fact it's not. It was all done real.
They gotta have the biggest set of brass balls I've ever seen in my life. I mean, those dudes are crazy.
I mean, it's really crazy.
I saw in 60 Minutes the Birdman, with J.T. Holmes jumping off like Norway cliffs or something like that.
Michael saw J.T. Holmes and Julien Boulet, and it was a piece on these guys, what they do. They jump off of mountains in these wingsuits, and they look like flying squirrels. So he saw that, and he said, I want that in the movie.
I literally called Ian Bryce. I said, Ian, find those guys wherever they are, get them in the office. I want to put them in this movie.
To my surprise, the phone rang, and it was Ian Bryce, and he spoke humbly about a movie project and told me what it was, and I was like, sweet, I'm in.
J.T. Holmes was our main person. He was coordinating that unit, and he got a team of 4 other guys together, one of them being a cameraman. He was really the perfect person because he is very skilled at this type of thing. Yet at the same time, he's very calm. Like, he will say no. And he knew that he needed to pick a team of people that obviously were skilled, but also weren't daredevils. And 3 of the guys are on the Red Bull team, and they fly together all the time. And then he and Julien had flown a lot together, who was our cameraman.
My first meeting was I just sat there with Michael, and we talked about possibilities, and basically it was like, well, there's not that much to talk about until we choose a city and go there and find some lines.
We scouted with JT, and we went through the previs and figured out what Michael wanted. Then we went and saw the different buildings in different areas, whether it was the river or near the Willis Tower in Chicago, and tried to figure out how best to give Michael what he wanted.
This is like Disneyland for us, eh?
Yeah,
If you really think like Euro Disney and Disney combined.
We are going around from building to building asking whether we can do things like base jump off their building, because all of the shots that have been storyboarded can't be done by jumps from helicopters. So we've got to use a number of buildings like the Trump Tower, Hancock Tower, and maybe the Sears Tower to achieve some of these shots, because they'll be very useful sort of jumping platforms. And we've also been looking at a bunch of other tall buildings as camera platforms from which to show these skydivers whizzing past at improbable speeds.
Oh my God.
It came down to 4 locations, 2 base jumps, one in wingsuits off the Sears Tower, which is now called the Willis Tower, and then the regular base jump off the Trump Tower, and then other wingsuit jumps out of helicopters along the river and through other buildings in the city.
The reason we're doing 2 different types of jumps is because Trump Tower, if you jumped off there with a wingsuit, it's just not that high. You wouldn't get that much flying out of it. We're able to get more moments of usable footage, more flying in the urban terrain if we jump out of the helicopter. So the helicopter is a huge advantage. At the same time, it's a variable, so it makes it a little trickier in some ways for engaging the line and telling people where we're going to be. If we're standing on the Sears Tower, we can tell all the camera operators, we're going to be standing shoulder to shoulder right there, for sure, 100%. And they can get framed in and dialed. So it makes it easy for them. Plus, base jumping is kind of the purest form of our sport, and we like to jump off of things. I like to get into the landing areas when there's nobody around me to ask a bunch of questions. Just kind of take it all in. Okay, what if I open here? What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? I can make a diagonal entrance into this parking lot. It's open. If I overshoot the parking lot, there's a street that's still good to go. A line here that works. Watch out for the fence.
The film company might have thought that these guys were a little crazy, when in reality they are the most level-headed, intelligent. You know, every thought, every variable is processed and talked about. It's definitely not kids jumping off of buildings.
We plan what we're going to do and we stick to the plan. And I can say no. And when I chose the guys, I only would choose people that I know would say no. People that can put their ego in check and just say, look, I know there's hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in this morning of work, and sorry, it's not going to happen. That's really important.
Ground to chopper, you copy?
Yes, go ahead.
We're green light on the ground, green light on the ground.
Copy that. 1 minute away.
1 minute!
Norm, ready? Yeah, everybody's ready when you guys are ready.
We have 5 cameras rolling at any time on the stuff. And there are 3 ground cameras, although they're typically on the tops of buildings.
It's been pretty tough for us with the land-based cameras because what we have to do is get to a high enough altitude where we can shoot them and get some interesting backgrounds going by. And in addition to that, we're using really big lenses, so it's hard to find them when they're getting out of the helicopter, so there's all the stress of missing a shot. In addition to that, there's communication with the helicopter. We have space cam going. We have so many cameras going that it's really sort of like a military operation in terms of like understanding when they're going to jump, rolling cameras, having a shot, knowing where they're going. There's just a lot of logistics. So, you know, we'll work all day long to get maybe 4 shots.
There's 3 or 4 guys on tripods on different parts of the city shooting. They're kind of at the disadvantage. You know, the most exciting stuff potentially will come from the helicopter and from Julian's air-to-air.
It's actually a 3D camera mounted on his head, so it's 2 lenses on his head, and he's flying with the boys. And that footage is going to be really stunning.
That's really the camera to do the POV. I mean, he really jumps out with his guys. He has the camera right, and he's right on their tails. That's a great vantage point to see their close proximity to buildings.
10 seconds, guys. 10 seconds. Go ahead and start rolling. Jump. Then jump.
How'd it go? That was awesome. That was sweet. Coming around that corner, it swings you out pretty wide, but that's a pretty cool building right there and pretty nice river. This is fun.
We're doing a really strange form of skydiving where we get out really low. We get out at about 1,800 feet, and we're pulling at 400 feet, you know, even sometimes a little bit less. And we would choose reference points of building, okay, that's a 400-foot building, so when we get to that level, pull. People look at this and they think, okay, now that the parachute's open, the danger's off, but really it's, you know, we're deploying right next to each other. And that's really technical stuff, because you're opening, you're avoiding your friends, you're avoiding hazards like buildings and light poles, you're dealing with the wind, and you're landing on concrete. You're making these split-second decisions, you know, open, where am I gonna land? You have emergency outs. We walk all over every landing area and just, you know, you kind of pay your respects to the little light poles and little hazards. And then when you come in at 110 miles an hour and you have 10 seconds to land your parachute, you know, you've seen it before.
Morning. Great. Fantastic. Ready to jump off this building.
The concept of base jumping off tall buildings is always a sensitive one for those tall buildings and the people who own them and manage them.
I mean, to get to the top of these buildings, Willis Tower, the security, there's just no way. Here, we were spoiled. I mean, we're putting our wingsuits on in the lobby of the Willis Tower, getting in the elevator, being escorted, pressing the 106th floor all the way to the top, climb up some stairs, go out to a custom-made platform, and bail off at your leisure. You know, we had all day to session the Willis Tower. That's huge.
To put all this stuff together and be able to do this and the permissions and everything, it's a big deal to get this type of stuff.
Logistically, it's a pretty big deal. There's a lot of elements to coordinate. You have to coordinate lock-offs with the police department. We've got a lot of production assistants who are helping us coordinate people, so when the helicopter's flying over the area where they're jumping, that is cordoned off so it's safe. You know, we follow all the strict FAA regulations. Cameras on 2 separate buildings. There's all kinds of stuff going on. It's beautiful chaos.
Being on the top there on the corner jump, you know, that takes a lot of emotional strength to gather the courage and jump there. It's just really visually overwhelming.
They're very quiet before they do a jump. They're very serious.
When they do their jump, their mental focus is off the charts.
What it is when you're focused is you're analyzing what is making you scared. You know, what is it? Is it the line of flight I'm worried about? Is it not being able to fly far enough to not be able to reach the landing zone? Is it the wind conditions? And if you go through like, okay, those 8 things that I'm concerned about that are making me scared, and each one of them is not actually bothering you enough to say no, each one of them is like, no, actually that's within my abilities. And you go through each one objectively and think, all right, you know, this goes, I got this.
All right, we're giving 30-second warning. We're giving 30-second warning.
So let's just harness that fear and turn it into focus, and just now you focus on the task at hand. All this stuff's within our skill set, but you gotta perform at least okay.
10 seconds, 10 seconds.
This is not a gimme. This was pretty advanced skill level stuff for us.
5, 3, 2, 1, go.
It was a really special day. We jumped off the Willis Tower with wingsuits. The building's never been jumped before, and not a lot of buildings have been wingsuited before. No buildings in the United States that I know of have been wingsuited. It was cool to jump an iconic building, and we got some great shots for our scene, and we had a great experience.
JT and the guys are really happy and lucky because they are living a dream. I think for base jumpers and for wingsuit people particularly, it's always been a fantasy to, wow, wouldn't it be cool to fly between 2 buildings? Wouldn't it be cool to go down a city avenue and deploy? They get to jump off a lot of natural terrain, a lot of mountains, but doing jumps and proximity flying in a city area, it's always been an unattainable fantasy. And they're getting to live their dream. They're getting paid for it, and you know, Transformers has made it possible, but it's just nice to see that, you know, since the advent of wingsuit flying, people have always wanted to do this, and now it's happening.
It's pretty rewarding to be able to go and do something like this and know that there's nobody else in the world that is actually capable of doing this. And yeah, it makes you feel pretty cool. You're capturing something that's new, special, and you just got to wait and let the memories come back, and they do.
I always thought I was going to be relieved once it was over because there's stress and there's anticipation and nerves. And it's a bit of a nerves roller coaster. But yesterday when we made our last jump flying wingsuits through the city, I was like, my heart sank. I was really bummed. It's like if it's Christmas and you're, 6 years old, you wake up the next day and Christmas is over, and it feels like an eternity before there'll be another Christmas. And there may never be another Christmas for us. And it just felt just like that. You just like, oh, it's over. Like, it was rad, but it's over. And, you just hope you get another taste of it sometime. They could have done this whole thing fake, and it would have looked good, but not real. And I think Michael Bay's movies are rad because he has real action. And when you see stuff and you say, holy cow, well, that did just happen. Somebody, like me, just went out there and did something rad for a camera. It's cool that Michael has that attitude and he places value on that. And he went and spent, $500,000 to, get all this stuff green lighted and to put every damn cop on the street corner, ensuring safety and the safety of the city. And, paying location fees, and all because he wants it to be real. He wants real action, and you know, thank you. I'm proud of it, yeah. I mean, it's tough to be proud until you see a finished product, but I'm proud of the flying we did. I'm proud of myself because I grew a lot as a flyer and earned the trust of the whole Red Bull Air Force. They're the best flyers in the world. You know, it was cool to come to the city and stomp some lines and kind of make your little artistic impression on the city, and I'll never look at Chicago the same again. So looking forward to see Matt Butler and Michael Bay put their touch on the sequence. You know, it was really cool to have Matt come out to the skydive zones that we went to, and he and I had a beer yesterday and he was excited. He was like, I am confident I'm going to be able to, you know, take this and add the special effects and make buildings blow up and collapse behind you. And he has what he needs to do his job, so that means we've done our job.